What is going on, everybody? I say that. There it is. The picture wasn't loading. I was a bit worried. We're in now. Welcome to the results episode. I didn't think we should do another couple. It's not too much happened, really. I say that. It looks like the Igorot. Vietnam have settled some cities and obviously lost them. Actually, where the heck? Okay, there's a lot of new cities here, apparently. I didn't notice that, but the only things that happened were the cities that were already under siege kind of went. So it didn't really seem like a need for an episode. You see Jakarta here fell to Banuba, and Motu lost another city, but they're about to lose this one. But nothing crazy happened. New South Wales also attacked the Kulin, but that's not really led. Okay, maybe this city's changed hands. But again, look, it would have happened anyway, just really slow. There's logic to this, okay? But we do have the results. They're very exciting. So we will get into those. Pretty much straight away. I'm just going to check the rest of the map now. What else did I miss? I don't think I missed too much. I was sat here doing like next turn, button by button. It wasn't on auto, as it sometimes is. But yeah, I think the rest of the map is mostly the same. Obviously, there's some more settling. Tampa Bay. Isn't that a US place? Either way, you can see there's been a lot of settling here in the Philippines. That's certainly quite clear. But for the most part, it's nothing super crazy. That's new. Yeah, but most of it's the same. Don't forget the Maori. I'm trying to not forget them as much. Okay, but there we go. Most things pretty much the same. So we of course did the results. We have the info addicts back. So we did it as the old approach. 10 points for first, down to 1 for 10th. There was some where I was really unsure. So technologies, which played a big part in it. I knew Brunei was first, regardless of my bias to them being there, but also you can see there's a lot of 77, so it was a very tough choice. In the end, I did use it because I got to another one. I think it was Wonders, and again it was like, is this fair? I don't know. It's a flawed system, okay? That is its flaw, right? It's flawed, but it's probably better than Score, so that's why we're still using it. So yeah, 10 points for first, down to 10th. Obviously some categories used, some not, which we will go over. Feel free to get angry. I believe looking at it, there's a couple of ties and 1 point differences. There it may have made a difference. In terms of the bigger gaps, it probably wouldn't. Again, I've not worked out every mathematical way that I could have done the results, so that isn't exactly 100% certain, but that's kind of how I'm doing it. So first, we're going to go over the civs that survived and scored no points. Just rub it in, I guess, for those guys. I don't know if there's any actually left, but the Kulin, sadly, they were not top 10 in any statistic, which is kind of sad, but that was that. I think they're the only one, actually. I think everyone else scored at least 1 point. Sorry, Kulin. Of course, some categories are historic, so at the bottom of the honourable mentions, you do have these guys who got 2 points. They also came 9th in something, which is probably built up from when they had lots of cities. Technologies, you can get all the techs, then die down to one city, and you'd still be at the top, in theory. So that's probably what happened to them. I don't remember which one it specifically was. Next up the list of honourable mentions, Burma got 6 points. I think that was a couple of finishes. Maybe I think it was a 5 and a 1, but again, I just tracked the total. I don't know what it was. So that was 6. Sorry. We then had 8 for Aceh, which I think might be a bit harsh. That might be a bit of the 11th place a lot of the time, kind of bad luck that some civs get. If you're 11th every time, you get nothing, and then someone who's 10th every time will finish with like 15. So that's quite a bit unfair sometimes. It's an unfair system sometimes. I get it. Then we have a bit of a tie, but still not on points, which is between the Muri and the Motu. Here's Muri, still pretty much the same. And Motu, who are clinging on, both with 12. So yeah, again, that's a tie. These aren't particularly close. The boundary for the top 10 is 45. They got 12. Then there's a huge jump to Singapore, who are kind of the actual honourable mention in the true nature of that, with 35 points. So well done, Singapore. That was quite impressive, I thought. They were up there. They kind of came like 7th or 8th on a lot of categories, so I think that just sort of snowballed a bit for them. That was really good. They were pretty consistent. So that leaves us then with 10 civs left, unless I've made a horrible mistake. First, we have a 45 point tie for 9th and 10th. between what remains of Vietnam here and that other city they have, and this city, sorry, and their enemy Igorot. They both scored 45 points. So there you go. That's that. Good job from both of them. Would have liked a bit more. There are some huge cities in all these civs now, but yeah, would have been cool to see a bit more. We never got Vietnam v Laos. And Igorot, I mean, they just left a lot on the table. They never settled any of this stuff, and now other people are coming to get it. We moved 2 points upwards to 8th to the Maori, who were forgotten because they didn't show up in like the first 3 statistics. I think low population, so they don't have the jungle and stuff that others have used to get really big. So that, yeah, they were not there, but then all of a sudden they started showing up. So that was a bit of a shame for them. I think certain characteristics let them down. But they came 8th with 47 points. Bit of a jump now, 12 points. So again, one category would not make a difference anymore in that kind of jump. Australia, still around, still going. I'm a bit worried. Nagar and Jerry have a lot of units. I don't want to hover over them too much. But yeah, 59 points. Good job from Australia. Again, they kind of settled this stuff and then just kept it. They took one city off the Maori. That's it. So again, not super exciting for them. Not much praise for them here. I guess they survived being by 2 bigger civs who, process of elimination, finished above them. 6th place with 1 more point than Australia, actually. Maybe surprising because they're smaller, is the Wagi. But then again, some of these numbers, 36, 39 and 40, pretty big numbers. 29 as well here. So they did pretty well, and I guess, 50 turns more, they may have finished even higher because 1 point, a few small changes, an extra city could make a big difference. Now then, let's break into the top 5. 4 points above the Wagi on 64, so again, very close. One category would have changed Australia. Nagar and Jerry, there you go, I've given it away, who's 5th and Wagi. There's 10 points, 6 points between them. No, 5 between the 3 of them, so one category, that technology one, if I'd have got the calculator out, maybe would make a difference. So again, don't worry. But as they're not the main winners, it's not too concerning. But Nagar and Jerry scored 64 points. Very solid in some categories, as you can imagine, military, things like that. Pretty high performance categories for them. Now, 4th place was a big jump now from 64 to 82. And it is, I'm going to say, a civ that's kind of on their own, on a bit of an island, and that is Laos. Again, very good, 49 in their capital now. I'm guessing these other cities are maybe suffering as a result of that, but there we go. They're still pumping out settlers, and yeah, I think they're kind of a successful, Vietnam lost a lot of their cities, Laos has kept all of theirs, so that's maybe influenced it a lot. I mean, even this city, 29 now on an island, they settled fairly late in the game. So very good from Laos. They were arguably the most consistent civ of them all, I would say, in terms of appearing at the top end of the info addicts. The top 3 were very much win some, not appear on some, which is why it's going to be some shocking results. So that leaves us with 3. Now, here's the exciting part. One of them got 90 points. The other 2 got 101, which is good news because it means that my inclusion of technology would not have changed it, because there's an 11 point gap, so even if the other civ got 10 and the one that got 10 got 0, it wouldn't matter, in theory. So hopefully that equalises any concerns. But those 3 civs, of course, if you've been following along and keeping track, are Brunei. They're in the top 3. Bermuda is in the top 3. And New South Wales is in the top 3. Now, I personally will admit I was surprised. It was so close. I said that the top 2 are tied on 101, so there's 2 winners. Dead exact tie. It's always nervous. I get into the tourism sort of stat, and I'm like, it's the final one, and it makes the big difference. But there we go. So we have. Now, how do I do this? I'm trying to think how I might give the big reveal. I mean, it's kind of the same as when I do 1 and 2, because whoever wins, they both won, right? So I guess that's fair enough. So the 2 winning civs were Bermuda, I think that's a big surprise actually, and Brunei, with the tech category. But as I said, if there was no tech, Bermuda I think would have finished first, regardless, because New South Wales and Brunei have better tech than Bermuda. So there you go. Maybe Bermuda was the slightly better pick, but I got one. So that's what matters. Brunei tied with Banuba. A lot of other people did. There's quite a few shout outs. So the most popular pick was Brunei. So I'm going to say Banuba was the harder pick and probably the actual winner. But there you go, that's it. And obviously that does mean New South Wales actually missed out, mainly because they didn't show up on some of the info edits at all. They were very hit and miss. There was a lot of 10s and a lot of 0s and not much in between. That was their issue. And yeah, obviously one too many of them and they were 11 points behind. Banuba and New South Wales, you'll notice in the info edits, good at a lot of similar things. But Banuba just showed up a few more times when New South Wales was not even on the list, and that's kind of hurt them. And Brunei won a lot of completely different categories. They were losing for a lot. They were 5th or 6th at one point, and they turned it on at the end and really won, or dragged themselves up there. So there you go, those are the results. So I'll do the shout outs. Brunei, well, I picked them, so that's a good start. We also have Roll MGL, sorry, I'm not sure if there's another way to pronounce that, apologies. The Wall, Daily Dose of Stan Twitter, Candid Fob, and Mark Morris. And me, of course, just going to remind everyone again, because this is the first time it's happened. Those people picked Brunei, and I feel like as a more rarer pick as well, a huge congratulations to Penn Roberts and Ike Reviews for picking Banuba. Congratulations. Yeah, less picks for Banuba than Brunei. I'm surprised you'd go with the same pick as me. That is notoriously a terrible idea. Does seem to jinx everyone. We will now go through the info addicts. Feel free to pause it and count it and tell me how wrong I was in my poor adding up. You know, I try my best, okay? If you all know the process, I open the notes app, I add the first 10 names, and obviously if an extra name comes, I add it to the list, and I just not even tally, I just track the total. So I'm sure there is room for mistakes, but I can't keep doing it over and over again because I might keep making mistakes. But either way, if you want to pause it and go through and get the real result and use the categories you want to use, that is more than welcome. But here we go. Population. Brunei leads the way, just ahead of Laos. Then it is Wagi, New South Wales, Banuba, Vietnam, the Igorot, Ngarrindjeri, Australia, and Singapore. I would say we are now comfortably above 1 billion. I mean, I can see there's well over 600 million just in these 5. So there we go. Crop yield. Banuba beats out New South Wales again. Then it's Laos, Ngarrindjeri, Brunei, Vietnam, Wagi, Australia, Maori, Igorot. Production again, Banuba. Look at that, they're just beating New South Wales by the smallest amounts, and this also contributed to their victory, or joint victory. Ngarrindjeri in 3rd, Laos 4th, Maori, Wagi, Vietnam, Australia, Brunei all the way down in 9th on this one, and then the Muri. Biggest incomes, New South Wales did dominate in this one ahead of Banuba, and there's Brunei, so the big 3 all turned up in this category. Ngarrindjeri 4th, Laos, Wagi, Australia, Singapore, Igorot, and Aceh filling out the top 10 there. Land, again New South Wales just beats out Banuba ahead of Ngarrindjeri, Laos, Maori, Wagi, Brunei, Australia, Vietnam, and Igorot. Military, New South Wales again, then Banuba, Ngarrindjeri, Australia up in 4th, Laos, Brunei, Wagi, Singapore, the Maori, and Aceh. Approval is not used for obvious reasons. This is worse than some of the little ties, right? This is everyone's on 100%. I'm not really sure what this list is actually sorted for. It's not alphabetical because Vietnam come first. Literacy is also not used, mainly because again, it's covered in technology, so it's twice. Social policies is used, and then you have Brunei winning this one, and as you'll notice, Banuba and New South Wales aren't even in the top 13, let alone top 10. Maori in 2nd, Igorot 3rd, Motu 4th, Burma 5th, Singapore, Wagi, Muri, the Anangu squeezing in, there's their 2 points, and Australia as well. Again, very harsh on Laos not to get the point, but we can't have a perfect system. Happiness is not used, because I'm really not sure what contributes to some civs having mega. I think a religion gives some of these civs mega scalable happiness. We don't use it. Mainly because if it's above 0, there's no actual in-game difference, right? I mean, obviously it's more resilient to have 160. If something goes wrong, you're better off than if it's on 1. But in the game, 1 is the same as 160 if you don't drop below 0. Tex, this one, maybe you can accuse me of cheating, and that's fine. I knew Brunei was there first. We have evidence of that if you go and watch the previous episode. So I did flip that. I did not have evidence for these four. So Singapore got away with it. New South Wales, though, is below 77. So I think that's fine. I think it's okay. I don't think anyone will be too upset in terms of it affecting the results. Banuba is not even on this page. So that's another. They still did better than New South Wales regardless. Laos and Motu. So yeah, Brunei. If this one was scrapped, Brunei would have still. They would have come second, not tied first, but they wouldn't have been beaten by New South Wales. There you go. That's the logic there. My excuse. Net gold, Brunei dominated, but this was not used, so that doesn't actually matter at all. We don't use net gold because normally the civs run out of money, and we try not to punish the civs for running a massive military, particularly Banuba, when we want to see more action. That's kind of the logic on that one. That's why we switched to GMP. And normally, in some of the other games when we've done the results, they've all been massively negative, so it seemed a bit weird to give points for that. Cities, that is a but again, it's not so controversial because there's an 11-point gap, but Banuba and New South Wales are also tied. I see that. So it may be controversial. But again, 10 and not 1 point wouldn't have made the difference. Laos, Ngarrindjeri, Maori, Australia, Wagi, Vietnam, Muri, and Brunei. Science is again used, and that is somehow a miracle that those two numbers are exactly the same. I didn't even notice that before. That is ridiculous. Laos and Brunei, it doesn't cap out at that, but that would be interesting. Ngarrindjeri, Wagi, Igorot, Vietnam, Maori, and Australia. Culturally, Brunei wins. This is where it's going to start to. This is where they mount their comeback a little bit. Laos, Banuba, Maori, Vietnam, New South Wales, Ngarrindjeri, Singapore, Australia, and Igorot. Wonders was again used. This one felt a bit weird as well with technologies because you can see some ties there. Brunei, New South Wales, Australia, the Igorot, Maori, Wagi, Motu, Singapore, Vietnam, and Banuba. Very harsh on these two to not get one for having a point, I know. There probably is a better system, but I don't know what that is. Treasury is not used because some of them save money forever. Sorry, New South Wales. Again, Banuba, Brunei are top 4 as well, so it wouldn't have made a huge difference. Total faith is not used because some of these civs don't have religion, so it's just stacked up all game when they've conquered cities. Faith gain is not used because some will just not go for it once they don't get a religion. New South Wales, yeah, if you include religion and the fact they have the dominant religion, I think you could argue it's a three-way tie. I think that's a fair argument could be made there, to be honest, if you wanted to. But there we go. I don't want to. We can't settle for that, can we? That'd be the easy way out. Influence is not used, mainly because again most of them are on 2, and it just didn't. We've never used it before. Brunei is doing very well, but that's about it. Great Works was used, with Banuba leading Australia, then Brunei, Vietnam, Singapore, Laos, the Muri, Igorot, Ngarrindjeri, and Maori. Kinosh. Wait, Great Works? Yeah, Great Works was used. Trade routes not used because it's not really a normal stat, and a lot of them are on 8, as you can see. And finally, tourism. Brunei taking the win over Banuba. There you go, perfect 10-9. Brought them together. They were on 93 and 2 and ended on 100. No. 91, whatever it was. They were 1 apart, and they finished 1 apart. Then Vietnam, Laos, Australia, Igorot, Singapore, Wagi, Muri, and Aceh. But there it is, that is the end. Not the official end though, we will continue on and I'll let it run to like turn 400. I won't promise anything beyond that, I can't, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you have enjoyed, be sure to leave a like and a comment down below. Be sure to subscribe as well if you are new to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.